So let's go back to the game that you just referenced, which is a game that I totally fell in love with, and that game is Rollerdrome.
I looked up the time to beat. It was like 5 hours. And I'm like, let's just like, that's a worthwhile investment. Let's give it a shot. And I was really glad I did because this game is amazing. The best thing about it is that they took the most boring element of a shooter, which is reloading. I was thinking about it this morning while I was lying in bed, right? The psychology of reloading is like a reset for your brain. So if you're in a shooter, you will shoot a bunch of people, then you have to take a break to reload and you reposition yourself and then you figure out your strategy and then you shoot a bunch of people and then you reload. So it's kind of like a reset for your brain. Well, what this game does is, number one, you don't have to push any buttons to reload. All you do to reload is to do tricks. And you do different tricks. You do grinds, you do flips, you do grabs. And depending on how cool of a trick you do, depends on how fast you reload or how much you reload. And that is brilliant because it takes this really boring thing and convinces you that you're not really doing the boring thing because you're actually just doing tricks.
I think that I would add is that they really play with weapon scarcity as well, or ammo scarcity as well. That's the only thing I wanted to add to that comment.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I mean, this entire game, while it may feel like a roller skating shooter game, it's not. It's to your point, it's a ammo management system game, right? Because the whole time you're going, this gun takes 5 bullets to kill this guy, and this gun takes 4 bullets to kill this guy, and you're having to do math calculations the whole time to go like, okay, I have 12, I can get rid of this guy, and then there's a grind rail, and you can string together a combination in your head of how to wipe everyone out. And that's the brilliance of it, is that you're having to think about it and plan when you go in there and plan your route around the killing the guys and how much ammo it takes. So I would completely agree with you.
Yeah, I would say the thing that most impressed me about this game is, like, in the beginning, you feel the momentum and the Tony Hawk-ness of this game. You're like, oh, this is cool. I'm like doing things and making tricks, and like the momentum feels really good. You get through out of a 5-minute like session and you're like, oh, that was great. Let's do it again. Like, it's nonstop. In a way which is really, really nice. I think one of the more impressive things that I found was the different enemy types and the hard and soft counters to each one of those enemies. And I made a little bit of a short of this, but like they introduce a weapon and then they don't really tell you how to like counter each one of the enemies until you actually go in and do the challenges. And then they gate levels behind challenges, so it almost forces you to eventually play those challenges and understand how like you can counter each one of these enemy types. And I thought it was a really smart way of going about it, because what I found is, like, I would start a level, I'd be like, okay, I'm comfortable with the shotgun, and I would use the shotgun the whole time, finish all the enemies with a few challenges complete, and then be like, okay, let's look at the challenges. Use dual pistols to kill like one of these blue guys. Oh, okay, I mean, I haven't really been using the blue pistols. And then you realize when you're making consistent damage on one of those blue guys, they don't teleport away. So you can get them you can string together 2 attacks to take out the enemy rather than stringing together like 4 attacks like it was before. So it's just very, very intelligently built, where you it's almost like a puzzle game, and it's so action based that it doesn't feel like it should be a puzzle game, if that makes sense.
It does, and I completely agree with you. I mean, the only gun that I would say in this game that I did not use at all was the laser gun.
Agreed.
I did not use the laser gun at all. It only had 2 bullets, and the fire time was so long that it was counterintuitive. They should have made the fire time a lot faster on that particular gun in order for me to use it. I completely abandoned that gun during this playthrough, but everything else you said is 100% correct. The first time you play through each level, you just beat the level. And then the second time you play through the level, you have to actually go back and do the challenges. And there's a certain level of discoverability, like you said, where you uncover new strategies. I used the shotgun for most of the game. And then I realized that I'd been playing the game all wrong, and that the pistols were actually really, really good at taking out a lot of the enemies. There are certain enemies whose shield will activate if you use the shotgun, but their shield won't activate if you use the pistols. And you won't know that. They don't tell you that. And then you go, oh, I have to string this together in one combo. and like that's how I'm gonna get it done. So like those big guys, the big guys with the machine guns, their shield does not activate with the pistols, but it does activate with the shotgun, and that kind of takes you out of that combo, because then you have to skate away and you have to come back and try to finish them off again. But if you just use the pistols the whole time, I think that this game had the perfect number of levels.
Mhm.
It had the perfect amount of story. It was a very limited story that was less than 5 to 10 minutes. They did not overstay their welcome. They did not have too many enemy types. They did not have too many guns, and they really built the game based on simplicity. So that is why it was successful.
I'm blown away by it, to be honest with you. Like, I felt like I was learning all the way up to the end, and for a game that clocks in at like 5 hours, I think you're right. The length of this game is absolutely perfect. Like, get in, play it, enjoy it, and when it's over, it's over. I think that's a really smart way to approach it. What I will say is that final level with the boss, I had a heck of a time with. And then I finally figured out what I was doing is I wasn't dodging enough to avoid the missiles. And the missiles had been around since like the first level. And somehow they come around in the final like level and they crank up the missiles to where you really have to be conscious of where they are and when to dodge. And that's something that I didn't even realize I should have been doing the entire game, which makes me feel like, oh, I could go back and probably score, like kill all the high scores now. But it's weird that like you go through the entirety of the game with an element that's been on the table the entire time, and you don't actually have to interact with it or parse through it until you get to the final boss. And there's some beauty in that for this title for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the missiles are the most annoying part
Agreed.
of the whole game.
Well, there's no warning to know when they're coming in, right?
Yeah, there's no like beeping on your screen. You just like suddenly your health goes down from 20% to 18%. And then you're like, how did that happen? It was like, oh, I just got hit with a barrage of 18 missiles at once and I didn't even know it. And there are definitely some moments within the game where it's so frenetic that I'm like, there's so much VFX on the screen that I'm like, I don't even know what's happening right now. There's like mines and the blue laser and the sniper and then this guy with the machine gun, and like I'm getting torched with fire and I have no idea what's going on. But those sequences were few and far between. I thought the boss, like the fact that you can design a boss that is that in a roller skating game and that's like sort of was like super cool. And it was like, and they didn't overkill it, right? They designed one boss. Essentially you fight the same boss twice. He's just a little stronger the second time. And they just knew what their limitations were, and they knew when to stop. The blue guys are by far, the guys that shoot the blue lasers are by far the most annoying in the whole game, as far as overall enemy type. But
I don't know, the green guys really upset me too, because you don't even know they're like on your butt, and then all of a sudden they drop on you, and I'm like, where did that even come from? Get out of here. Which meant that I couldn't stay with a line because I was staying in one single line to get away, and then I was like, oh, they want me to keep moving. And then once I figured that out, it got easier.
Yeah, and it definitely felt like they understood, they designed the enemies around the idea of disrupting the fact that you were on a line. Yeah. So it's not like they just are randomly shooting. Like, it's not by accident that the sniper bullet is like, they warn you with a straight red line, because they're kind of saying, you can't go this way now. Or they're like trying to break up your combo. Same thing with the guys that shoot the blue fire. They're like, we're going to break up this line now and you can't go this way any longer. And so all in all, this game is 100% brilliant. It's right now currently sitting atop my list as my favorite game that I've played so far this year. But who knows? Time will go on. This was such an unexpected treat of a game, and so unique and so engaging. I mean, typically I like a game with a little more story. I like a game with a little bit more narrative. But as far as the gameplay loop and like going in, like I left this game going, I could play one more level. Yeah. I could, if there was one more, I could have. And that's like a perfect sweet spot for a video game, because you're like, it's like when you go to dinner and you have just enough to eat and you're like, I could have a little more, but I'm good. Right. That's what this game was. It was like, I could have one more bite, but it's done now. And I kind of am sad that it's over because there's no more to eat. Yeah, it's dope. I mean, it's dope. The game is so, I think when you get to end credits, it says like that it was made by like 44 people. Right. And you're like, this is like the whole thing, the whole experience is just cool. is by making all of your mechanics, all of your storytelling mechanics, all of the side quests, everything that you do reinforce the main objective. And if the main objective is exploration, then you should make it easy to climb. Talking to you, Zelda. If you want people to get new weapons or do side quests, you should make them easily accessible. And this game does all of it. It every single thing is thought out to reinforce the end experience, and that's what makes it a great game.